Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjari Jaya Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Vishnu Paramatma, Jaya also Sister AC, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Amacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Sagal Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopada Shama Kunda Radha Kuda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Gang Jamuna Tulasi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Go Premanandi. All glories to some of the devotees, all glories to some of the devotees, all glories to some of the devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Guranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachalane Nirvashesha Shunyavani Paschatya Deshatarane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 10 chapter 47 verse 16. Visrajya sirasi padam vednyaham chatukaraya Anunaya vidushaste abhyetyaudautyai amukundat Swakrita iha visrishta patya patanyaloka Vyasrijya akrita cheta kim nu sandeyamastin. Visarja, let go of. Sirasi, held on your head. Padam, my foot. Vedmi, no. Aham, I. Chatukarai, with flattering words. Anunaya, art of conciliation. Vidusha, who are expert. Te, of you. Abhyecha, having learned. Dochai, by acting as a messenger. Mukunda, from Krishna. Swa, for his own. Krite, sake. Iha, in this life. Vishrishta, who have abandoned. Patya, children. Pati, husbands. Anyaloka, everyone else. Vyasrajat, he abandoned. Krita cheta, ungrateful. Kim knew, why indeed. Sandeyam, should I make reconciliation? Asmin, with him. Translation, keep your head off my feet. I know what you're doing. You expertly learned diplomacy from Mukunda, and now you come as his messenger with flattering words. But he abandoned those who, for his sake alone, gave up their children, husbands, and other relations. He's simply ungrateful. Why should I make up with him now? Purport. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, this verse illustrates the qualities of sanjalpa as described by Srila Rupa Goswami in the following verse of Ujjvala Nilamani. Salutaya agahanaya kayapyek akshepa mudraya tas akrita agyat adyukti sanjalpa katito buddhai. The learned describe a sanjalpa as that speech which decries with deep irony and insulting gestures the beloved's ungratefulness, and so on. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out that the word adi and so on implies the perception of one's lover of hard-heartedness, of an inimical attitude, and of complete lack of love. Translation, keep your head off my feet. I know what you're doing. You expertly learned diplomacy from Mukunda, and now you come as his messenger with flattering words. But he abandoned those who for his sake alone gave up their children, husbands, and all other relations. He's simply ungrateful. Why should I make up with him now? So, this particular verse is addressing the actions of the bee. So as we know, bees, they move around, buzzing all over the place, and then they'll land someplace. If they land on a flower, then they will take the nectar out of the flower, and then after they've finished, they go to look around, and they buzz around, and they go to another flower. So in this case, the bee goes to the feet of Radha. And the implication is that the fragrance of her feet is so sweet that the bee gets very attracted to that fragrance, and therefore lands on her foot. But Radha interprets this as something else, not that the bee is attracted to her foot. Rather, she interprets this as the bee trying to offer respects to her feet, and in this way offer some conciliation for Krishna. And therefore she addresses this the bee as the messenger sent by Krishna. And this is anunaya, means conciliation. So the bee is trying to conciliate her and apologize for Krishna's actions. But she rejects that. And he says, you stop doing this. You get away from my feet. I don't believe any of this. This is useless. The conciliation that you're trying to make on behalf of Krishna is useless. So that is actually the first word here, visraja. You go away. Take your head off my foot. So in other words, he rejects the conciliation. And of course, the bee also is humming, buzzing, makes a buzzing sound all the time. And that is interpreted as chatu karai. That means the flattering words. Chatu means flattering. So the bee is trying to praise Radha excessively in order to win her heart for Krishna. So, in other words, she interprets the buzzing as the flattering words of the bee, trying to conciliate her. So, why does she not accept the conciliation of the messenger? And the answer is that they, that is the gopis, have given up everything. They've given up children, husbands, and relatives completely for him. On the other hand, he has simply given them up. And therefore, he is ungrateful. He doesn't respond properly to them and make all attempts to satisfy them in spite of the fact they gave everything up for him. And therefore, she rejects the conciliation, sandhiyam. So here she expresses the sacrifice the gopis have made for Krishna. And this is one of their defining characteristics. More than any other people of Vrindavan, the gopis had to give up things. So they gave up their children, husbands, families, reputation, etc. for Krishna. And the relationship always had to be secret because people would criticize or whatever. So they went through a lot of difficulties, and they rejected all of these relationships with other persons for Krishna. On the other hand, those in Vatsalya Rasa, they don't give up anything. Those in Sakya Rasa and Dasya Rasa don't give up anything. But the gopis had to give up all of these relationships, very difficult to give up, for Krishna. And at the same time keep their relationship very hidden. So we see the other relationships are not hidden at all. All the elder cowherd people have Vatsalya with Krishna. They don't hide it at all. All the friends of Krishna, they do not hide their relationship of Sakya with Krishna. So, on the other hand, the gopis have to keep their relationship hidden at all times. So they sacrificed everything for Krishna. And on the other hand, Krishna left them. So yes, he went to Mathura at the invitation of Akrura, and in order to kill Kamsa and free his mother and father and give some happiness to the Yadus. But then he didn't respond at all. He didn't communicate. And now, of course, Uddhava is coming after some months. But otherwise, not much communication at all. After a few days of being in Mathura, he sent Nanda back with all the cowherd boys and the elders, and he gave a message at that time, of course, I will come back soon. After that, nothing happened. No message came for months and months. So this is very disappointing for everyone, and particularly the gopis. So this became a very intolerable situation. So when Uddhava came, then of course he is about to here deliver a message to the gopis, and he already spoke to Nanda and Yasoda. So Krishna made some attempt at this time, but still he didn't come back. So this is another disappointment. He sent a messenger back, but he didn't come back. So yes, something happened. He responded by sending a messenger in the form of Uddhava, who was, in one sense, equal to Krishna. But at the same time, he didn't come back. So another disappointment for them. Of course, then he'll send his message, and then in one layer of the message is very disappointing also, because his words are, "You should be like a yogi and see me everywhere," which is very disappointing for them also. So in many ways, they are still dissatisfied with whatever's happened up to this point. So therefore, they say he simply abandoned us, which suggests that he is not going to return at all. Almost a given up hope that he will come back. And therefore, this mood of it's described here, the sanjalpa is it's called sanjalpa, where there is sarcastic or ironic words, utterances, criticizing the ungrateful lover. So previously there was an expression of anger and asuya, envy or hatred or whatever at Krishna, made quite explicitly. Here we have that anger taking the form of irony, words which are critical at the same time, very sharp, and along with gestures, etc., to indicate disgust with the activities of Krishna, because he's being ungrateful. That ungratefulness, or kritacheta, is further explained here as being hard-heartedness of the lover, Krishna, that he didn't communicate with them at all, nor did he even come back or whatever, even if he promised. No love at all for them, and actually hatred of them, because he has some new lovers in Mathura. So that is the the assumption that she makes in relation to Krishna, based upon her great attachment. And we can say actually it's unfounded, because we find descriptions of Krishna in Brihad Bhagavatamrita in Dwarka. And actually he's always thinking of the gopis in Vrindavan more than anyone else. So he's not hard-hearted, or he doesn't have, he has complete love for them and no hatred of them at all. Quite the opposite. So actually this is all a projected type of feeling of hostility towards Krishna for his indifferent attitude or his hard-heartedness or whatever. Factually he's quite the opposite. But in this type of love, in Madhurya Rasa, in separation particularly, this type of sentiment arises where the gopis will criticize Krishna and mock him in various ways because of their disappointment at that particular time. So in this way we see Radha expressing herself here. Talks about here in the definition of sanjalpa that it is akshapa mudraya, with gestures of insult, disgust. So what are the gestures here? Is Radha telling the bee, get away, kicking her feet, trying to get the bee to go away, out of disgust, doesn't want to be touched by a servant of Krishna, because he's just trying to flatter her, which is all insincere and actually not the truth, because Krishna doesn't think of them at all. So why would he utter words of praise, etc.? This whole incident arises because of that great love, and then the love is stimulated by various udipanas. Various things will stimulate it. So the particular stimulus here is, first of all, the appearance of Uddhava, who looked very much like Krishna. So when they first saw him, they said, "Oh, Krishna's come back." So that was a stimulus for invoking their love and their memories, etc. So in this way, they began to recollect their pastimes with Krishna and their affectionate relationship with him. And then the immediate impetus here is the bee. And because the bee is black, that reminds Radha of Krishna, and because he's buzzing all the time, then we see that he is, seems to be talking, and then now he lands on her foot as if to offer respects to her lotus feet. So all this is stimulus for these words that Radha speaks out of great anger, disappointment, jealousy, and recognizing his ungratefulness and lack of response to their love. So the basis is the loving relationship, intense loving relationship. So the projection of various qualities on Krishna, which are actually not true, is a temporary phenomena. Because the sthayi bhava, or the permanent relationship, is that of their love for Krishna, which is a favorable relationship. So in that favorable relationship, they do not find any fault in Krishna. Otherwise they wouldn't love him if he was full of faults. So they love him because he is perfect. So that's the sthayi bhava. But due to this particular incident of Krishna separating himself for many months, and then Uddhava rising, and then the bee buzzing around her, and then we get this projection of all sorts of negative qualities on Krishna as we can say a secondary revelation or activity. So this whole incident is considered to be part of the highest level of ecstatic love. And here we see that it is Radha who is vocalizing this, expressing these sentiments. So in other words, it arises on a very high level of Madhurya Rasa in Mahabhava, in separation. So though the words may appear harsh, they are actually part of the ecstatic feelings within the highest levels of prema. So we shouldn't take the words otherwise. So therefore the words actually are not true, but expression of temporary emotions that arise in this particular instance.
Base intention and Radha intention is completely different. We want to just take the aroma, but Radha is saying, no, you are paying obeisance. There is a different things. Correct. So how to understand this? But B is, whatever Radha is thinking, B may not be thinking like this.
Yeah.
It's completely different.
Yeah.
Base intention is completely different.
Yeah. So why she thinks like this? Because of her complete absorption in Krishna, and everything is related to Krishna. So the bee is also related to Krishna. Uddhava is related to Krishna, obviously, because he comes with a message from Krishna. Then everything around her, she takes in relation to Krishna. So therefore, the bee also in relation to Krishna. And just as in the in the Rasa Leela, when Krishna separated himself from the gopis, and then they were wandering in the forest, and they approached the creepers and the trees and the deer and the flowers, and they're asking them questions. They obviously, in normal consciousness, they understand they're not going to reply at all, but they're asking them questions, I guess because they're absorbed in Krishna. Where is Krishna? So they'll ask everybody about Krishna. And then they imagine different responses from the creepers, etc. Oh, they're silent because of this or because of that reason, like that. So everything gives every object around them gives rise to some feeling about Krishna because of absorption in Krishna. So therefore, the bee buzzing around immediately they think Krishna, and everyone lands on it. But again, Krishna. But we could say a projection of we could say false, imaginary happenings because of their emotions at this time of disappointment and anger and hatred and whatever.
But other living entities are like, there is a flies, there is a what do you call this, butterfly. There also, but why only bees taken as a?
Well, and we'll see if we look at all the devotional literature, the Goswamis and others, the literature that describes pastimes and has descriptions of Vrindavan. We don't have mention of other things like flies and butterflies, but we do have lots of description of bees.
Yeah.
Of course, they're also very common, and they also make a sound, a buzzing sound like that. They also produce honey, so they have some benefit in their activities. But in general, they're considered to be very characteristic of Vrindavan. But we'll see not only in Vrindavan, we'll see even in Vaikuntha, sometimes the garland of Vishnu is described, and then the bees are humming around the garland also. So even that is considered to be an auspicious symptom, I suppose, of the great fragrance of the flowers on the garland or whatever like that. So, and of course the sweetness of the honey there. So bees are considered to be auspicious and indicating, let's say, an ideal scene. Generally, when we think of a nice place, we'll think of a nice place with beautiful trees and some water and some flowers with a nice aroma and a nice breeze blowing and birds chirping and bees buzzing. Bees will be there buzzing. So that's considered to be a very, in India at least, I don't know, Western world probably the bees never mention the bees, but at least they have the birds chirping and the flowers and the trees and the water, etc. But in the literature here we'll find the bees buzzing all the time.
Sometimes we see when peacock also included.
And of course it's also associated with kirtan. The bees are also doing kirtan because of that sound.
Peacock sometimes included in the same.
Okay, birds also. Birds singing, peacocks dancing, crying out, etc. What's that?
From the honeycomb, we drive away, burn them, and we drink the honey. Why the devotees are also so cruel that we are killing them and drinking honey?
Well, actually, they don't kill the bees in that process. And they don't take too much honey also, because bees also need it for their raising the larvae or whatever like that. So they take some, just like we take the milk of the cow. If we want to take the critical attitude to say, well, the milk is for the cow and the honey is for the bee, and that's what the vegans do. So they say they don't take any honey and they don't take any milk because it's not natural for the human to take it. It belongs to the cow and the calf. So, but there's always excess. So there's excess milk. If the calf takes all the milk, then it gets sick. Yeah. So similarly, the bees make more honey than they really need. So therefore, we can take the honey. Well, they actually the people that are trained with the bees, they don't mind it. They don't sting them. But they hate some people, so they'll sting them. Enemies, they'll find out who the enemy is and they'll sting them. On? Oh, Siberia, yeah. Inside the house. Okay. Oh, okay.
Bees hum, they get a good sleep, sound.
Oh, okay, yeah,
and it's also that and they do that, and the beaks keep on hitting the floor, upper portion of the floor,
Okay.
and they get a nice sleep also, and they don't harm, and they get the honey also.
Okay.
Both.
Good. And probably, they probably have to do that because it's so cold in the winter that the bees will also freeze to death or something, so keeps the bees warm also. Huh? No, they're up in, northern countries also. They survive the winter somehow in their hives or whatever. Yeah, so they're also there. Yeah.
As in Karnataka, though there is one area, yearly 3 months continuously rain. So this is the time they collect the honey.
Oh, okay.
Because bees are goes out and at night time they come back with the
Yeah.
so much honey.
But in rain time, they can't do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah, but still they get lot of honey
Mhm.
because of this honey.
Jealousy in material world, how to counteract it? Well, material world jealousy is based upon, or we can say the fact that we don't, prefer the position that somebody else has. Somebody else has a good position, and then we want that position. So that's how our envy in the material world arises. So that arises simply from material consciousness, identity with our material body, with greed and fame, etc. So the only way they can be removed is actually to remove material consciousness completely, and to remove that false identity that I am a material body and my material body has to be satisfied. So, two ways of doing that. One is through the process of destroying the thoughts in the mind and the false ego, etc., which is the process of jnana and yoga. The other process is simply to practice bhakti, in which we do not destroy the mind, and even the ego is not really destroyed, because once we destroy the subtle body with the false ego, in the Atma itself there's also another ego, another sense of I. But that I is not identifying with the material body, and also does not project a greed or envy or anything else. It only manifests in relation to Krishna. So that is why we say that I do something for Krishna, I serve Krishna, I want to do this for Krishna, because the spiritual I is there also. So the whole process is simply to redirect the I away from ourself and direct it towards service to Krishna. So when we do that enough, the material identity, false ego, and all of these other things like jealousy and hatred and anger and greed disappear, because they are all based upon this false ego. So when we, and the false ego is centered on my own enjoyment. So when we funnel our enjoyment towards Krishna and give him the enjoyment, then the natural ego manifests. And there's no problem with that. So based on that spiritual ego, then we develop a relationship with the Lord. I am the servant of the Lord, I am the friend of the Lord, I am the parent of the Lord, I am the lover of the Lord. All based upon the spiritual identity. And then within that particular relationship or rasa, then we have various emotions also that will arise in various pastimes. So particularly in Madhurya rasa, then we will get arousal of this man, which means anger and hatred and jealousy and whatever, periodically arising within the Sthayi Bhava of Madhurya rasa. Only based upon the positive relationship with Krishna. So it is quite different from material jealousy and whatever, which is based upon false ego and not centered on Krishna at all.